Tonight on CTV News at 6, the issue infiltrating the mayor's race. Candidates pick sides in the urban development debate.
Who is going to advocate for thoughtful, responsible growth in the city, and what's their plan?
It's amazingly dangerous what happened in this incident.
A to catch a predator sting by children goes wrong in an Alberta town.
It puts these people, these kids in this incident, in extremely high-risk, dangerous situations.
And City Council takes another crack at turning down loud vehicle volume.
There's some action on this issue. It's so frustrating. Edmontonians are furious.
CTV Edmonton, local breaking news with Jeff Hastings.
Good evening. Some mayoral candidates believe Edmonton's infill policy will play a major role in the civic election this fall. Candidates are laying out their infill proposals. Size, parking, and location are key factors. Narman Issa reports.
In violation of so many safety codes, your work site is atrocious.
A neighbor fed up with construction had some choice words for the project manager of this infill site in the Crestwood neighborhood.
We are proud that we're building in this community because this is a community that has been identified as one that could use density.
Kelly Petrick says infill will be the deciding factor on who she votes for in the upcoming civic election.
Who is going to advocate for thoughtful, responsible growth in the city, and what's their plan?
3 mayoral candidates laid out their infill policies this week. Raheem Jaffer says he would repeal the blanket zoning bylaws that allow for this type of development in mature neighborhoods.
Something that assigns one parking stall per dwelling, the ability for neighbors to have input in the way that they'd like to see their neighborhood develop, and to ensure that there's accountability.
Tim Cartmel is calling for reduced units and mandatory parking stalls. He believes mistakes have been made by this current council.
And quite frankly, I think that there was more of a focus on policy than there was on people. A lot of this work was crafted during COVID, where there was not a lot of opportunity for face-to-face engagement, and I think we left people behind.
Andrew Knack says the need for housing is high, that infill is the answer while preserving community character.
As mayor, I will bring forward a bylaw to protect mature trees on infill sites. And I will also work with property owners and the city to protect our heritage neighborhoods by implementing and strengthening the Heritage Places strategy.
After calling Crestwood home for decades,
We've been here for 10 years. We actually moved here because it was quieter. So
Patrick will have to get used to the new sights and sounds. Steps from her yard. Naramisa, CTV News, Edmonton.
Animal rescues across Edmonton are welcoming the changes being made to the city's animal control bylaw, along with support for those groups. It also includes stiffer fines for dog attacks and tools to control Edmonton's feral cat population. Amanda Anderson reports.
After years of consultation, new rules are coming for animals that live in our city.
Many of the needs of our community weren't reflected in the bylaw.
It's been 20 years since the bylaw was last changed. Animal Care and Park Rangers Director John Wilson says since the pandemic, there's been a spike in the number of dog bites and attacks reported, about 1,000 each year.
Now we're looking at fines ranging from $250 all the way up to $3,000 for dog attacks.
Repeat offenders classified as vicious dogs could be fined as much as $7,000. People will also see a slight increase when licensing their pets. It will go up $1 each year for 3 years.
We're also going to expand our subsidy program for seniors and for people on income assistance.
Licenses will be free for registered animal rescue organizations.
To license all of those and have to pay for them when even they're only with us, hopefully a short time before they're adopted, is a huge thing.
Perhaps the most impactful change for organizations like the Second Chance Animal Rescue Society is fosters will be able to apply to temporarily have more than the allowed limit of cats and dogs in a household.
The fact that now we can apply to have that temporary increase for homes that already have animals of their own or want to take in multiple fosters will be a really great thing for us.
The bylaw will also provide tools to help control the feral cat population. Wilson says there's an estimated 70,000 feral cats in the city.
It gives us the legislative framework to authorize trap, neuter, return programs officially, to recognize different types of cats, that we can introduce different programs to best manage their welfare in the community.
The new bylaw goes into effect next May. Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Edmonton.
City Council is once again trying to crack down on noisy vehicles using automated enforcement. Council has approved $50,000 for a pilot project to test out new and improved technology. The mayor says inaction on the issue is not acceptable, but as CTV's Jeremy Thompson reports, the new cameras and microphones may not hit city streets for another 2 years.
A microphone records a noisy street, while a camera and tracking technology identifies the source with a red dot. Video from UK-based SoundView demonstrates how its technology is being used to issue traffic tickets to excessively loud vehicles in countries like England and the US.
It's been wildly successful in New York City, so much so that they buy more and more of these devices because it works.
Council has now agreed to give the tech a trial run in Edmonton, approving $50,000 to buy or rent a device and pay city staff to analyze the information it collects.
I don't feel that our enforcement is making a dent. So I would like to see that we do something different.
The city tested out similar automated noise enforcement technology in 2020, mounting cameras and microphones in known noisy hotspots. Some included live decibel readings, which led to counterproductive behavior. Ultimately, city staff determined the technology wasn't precise enough to hold up as evidence in court. Noisy vehicles continue to be a top complaint in council inboxes.
Just some action on this issue. It's so frustrating. Edmontonians are furious.
2 years ago, council raised the fine for noise violations to $1,000. The mayor says more needs to be done.
To give people peace of mind that we are there for them, that we will step up for them, that we will do something.
One councillor believes spending the city's limited tax dollars on unproven technology is the wrong approach.
I don't want to sell false hope to Edmontonians. I don't want to spend money unnecessarily. I don't want to draw peace officers from the job of keeping people safe. I want a actual workable plan.
This plan could take 2 years just to begin. City staff predict the new tech won't hit Edmonton streets until summer 2027. Jeremy Thompson, CTV News, Edmonton.
The City of Edmonton is preparing for back to school in a new way this summer. Until Friday, you can drop off school supplies and donation boxes around the city. It's part of the city's first ever Stuff a Bus campaign, partnered with Staples and United Way. Donation boxes can be found at any city-run recreation center. The campaign hopes to set up students ahead of the school year.
And we know that education is such an important component to bringing people to a place that they can succeed and live full and complete lives.
Especially with how much tools you need when being able to access school. We want to make sure that everybody is provided an opportunity to have the same education for everybody, no matter your advantages in this society or not.
Most needed items include backpacks, notebooks, and pencils. On Sunday, donations can be brought to buses parked outside of all 8 Staples locations in the city. Some families in the Edmonton area are moving into new homes thanks to Habitat for Humanity. 3 new homes in Sherwood Park will have families living in them. Each house includes 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, and a detached garage out back. One woman says her family couldn't afford a house on their own, so she's very thankful for the organization's help.
Up to now, I don't believe it. My family is so excited to move in because this has been our dream for a long, long time. And as I said, our dreams come true. Yeah, we are so happy.
Habitat for Humanity homeowners are expected to pay it forward by volunteering 500 hours either with Habitat or in their community. The Edmonton Symphony Orchestra has returned to the great outdoors for this year's edition of Symphony Under the Sky. ESO warmed up at Snow Valley earlier today to prepare for the first of 4 performances over the next 3 days. From classical masterpieces tonight and Friday to popular music from the stage and screen Thursday and Saturday, there's a range of music to enjoy.
Playing outdoors, playing in neighborhoods, playing out where people are, not necessarily at the Windspear. This is part of the mission of the orchestra. It's to be where everybody is and not necessarily coming to us. We want to be accessible, available.
First performance is tonight at 7. Tickets are still available online. Next weekend, the ESO will be playing Disney music in Churchill Square for free. For the first time, Ice District will host the Chamak Diwali South Asian Festival with some big musical acts. International recording superstar Mickey Singh will headline the event, along with Bollywood hitmaker Raghav and DJ Shadow Dubai. The inaugural festival will take place Saturday, October 25th at Ice District in Fan Park. There will be fireworks, food trucks, and different cultural showcases. Tickets go on sale on Friday. All right, Josh, a little wind, some rain around the city tonight?
Yeah, it was looking like it was going to pour and we'd have some thunderstorms at about this time, but check out the radar. This just completely fell apart as it approached Edmonton. You can see all the yellows and reds and the lightning strikes that were off to the west, and now it's more windy than wet in the city. You got one little shower cell that's kind of passing through parts of South Edmonton. We do have some thunderstorms, though, further to the southeast in the Camrose-Wetaskiwin regions. You can see Skycam kind of shaking about out there right now as the gusts have picked up on the outer edge of that little shower cell. Right now, downtown, 20 gusting to 30 kilometers per hour out of the northwest. And temperatures have backed off to 20 degrees downtown. They've dropped all the way into the mid-teens off to the west and northwest of the city. We were up to 22 earlier this afternoon, so right around average today after starting the day at about 14 degrees. It'd be a little cooler tomorrow. We'll be in the 9 or 10 degree range in the morning and 19 or 20 for a high tomorrow afternoon. South of Edmonton, we've got severe thunderstorm watches and in a couple spots, some severe thunderstorm warnings just north of Medicine Hat. No watch for the Edmonton area. You can see those cluster of storms there north of Medicine Hat moving off to the east. Also a couple scattered thunderstorms, not only in the Camrose region, but up in northeastern Alberta and northwestern parts of the province. Really isolated cells, though. For the most part, it's going to be just cloudy periods through the rest of this evening and overnight tonight here in the city. 9 degrees tomorrow morning and a little breezy, and then gusts to around 40 or 50 kilometers per hour. And about 19 or 20 for a high tomorrow afternoon. Sunshine and some heat starts to take over towards the end of the weekend into the weekend. That forecast in just a few minutes.
Okay, thank you, Josh. Still to come on CTV News at 6, a group of kids concoct a to catch a predator scheme.
These are very hard to prosecute. It puts these people, these kids in this incident, in extremely high-risk, dangerous situations.
The charges a Calgary man faces following the sting, also ahead.
People working in education settings where there's high risk, in meatpacking plants and grocery stores.
Renewed calls for all Albertans to receive free COVID shots.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law.
Police say a social media trend became even more dangerous when a 12-year-old boy was abducted. A Calgary man faces charges after investigators say a group of teenagers arranged to meet a man through an app. As CTV's Jordan Canigan reports, it's being described as a catch-a-predator scheme.
It was near this area in the Cooper's Crossing neighborhood of Airdrie. A 12-year-old boy escaped from a kidnapper.
There are numerous youth, ages 12, 13, so quite young, that have been involved in a catch the predator scheme. So apparently this is a new scheme on social media.
Police say the boy was part of a group of between 6 and 10 teenagers who arranged to meet a man in a vigilante sting to expose child predators.
These are very hard to prosecute. It puts these people, these kids in this incident, in extremely high-risk, dangerous situations without backup training, justification, and backup. It's amazingly dangerous what happened in this incident.
Investigators say the teens met the man on Snapchat and it was caught on video. Police say the boy willingly got into the vehicle, but the man drove away with the child. The boy was able to escape a short time later. Multiple teens and other witnesses called 911 and police tracked the suspect to northeast Calgary.
This has not been done before here in Airdrie. In my service time of 23 years, I haven't been involved in a similar investigation where we have somebody setting up to catch a predator or anything along those lines. This is a very unique incident.
A 37-year-old Calgary man is facing numerous charges, including kidnapping, sexual interference, and breach of probation. He does have a history with police.
This offender is known to the ICE unit. We've had more than one investigation and file with this offender, which again speaks to the dangerous and high-risk nature of meeting strangers, conversing with strangers.
Edmonton's Zebra Centre and other child advocacy agencies are getting a boost in funding. To address rising caseloads, the UCP is giving more to 8 Alberta centres that support young abuse survivors. It says the additional $3.7 million this year represents a 10% boost in funding. The Zebra Centre helps more than 4,000 children and youth every year. It provides mental health, medical, and legal support for kids who've experienced abuse or neglect.
My understanding is the Zebra Centre is the busiest child advocacy centre in all of Alberta. We see the most number of kids every year. And I believe if we're not the second busiest in Canada, we might be the busiest in all of Canada.
The 7 other centres getting more money are in Calgary, Red Deer, Lethbridge, Medicine Hat, Lloydminster, Grand Prairie, and Fort McMurray. There are renewed calls for all Albertans to receive free COVID shots after the province flipped its vaccine policy for healthcare workers. 2 months ago, the province announced most Albertans, including frontline healthcare workers, would have to pre-order and pay for the shot. The Premier said it was to reduce waste. Following backlash yesterday, several unions said they were notified their members would in fact get access to free COVID shots. Now there are calls from other groups, including teachers, seniors, and children, to be given free access.
People working in education settings where there's high risk, in meatpacking plants and grocery stores. And in fact, every Albertan who wants access should get it. Anything less, from our point of view, is public health negligence.
As it stands, most Albertans still need to book appointments for shots and pre-register by September 30th for the October rollout. Coming up, a Pride history.
Some people wore paper bags over their head so they could see.
We'll look back on how Pride parades have evolved in Edmonton. Plus,
there's all sorts of reasons. It's usually due to stress.
Touches of yellow and red already showing up in Edmonton. What it means for your trees.
Now, those may be what you think are early signs of autumn, but there is some summertime heat set to roll in through the weekend and next week. We'll take a close look at that. Talk more about the shower that's shaking the camera right now, right after the break.
Programming brought to you by Century Casino. 3 great locations: Edmonton, St. Albert, and Century Mile. Help make history this summer with the world's largest egg and spoon race, August 30th in Vegreville. Registration is now open.
Edmonton's Pride Festival begins this weekend, and for the first time since 2018, the parade is back. Tonight, Once Upon a Time in Edmonton looks back at the history of Edmonton's Pride Parade.
And I will never forget coming across the bridge and coming to the gazebo, and there were people there, and I was astounded. I didn't think anyone would come. And
More than 3 decades ago, now former city councillor Michael Fair was part of the group that organized Edmonton's first Pride March.
It was actually on a Sunday, and it was a parade that was two blocks long.
In June of 1991, a group of 30 to 40 people started at the gazebo in McIntyre Park and marched down White Avenue.
Some people wore paper bags over their head so they could see. They didn't want to be identified. But we basically just marched down those 2 blocks and back to that, and we thought we'd done a miracle.
A couple of years later, Fair organized Edmonton's third Pride Parade, this time as the city's first openly gay councillor.
I, Mayor Jan Reimer, do hereby proclaim June 26th Gay and Lesbian Pride Day in Edmonton.
We're here, we're queer, we're proud of it, get used to it.
Fair recalls having a significantly larger group and says it felt more like a parade. Supporters stood and applauded as they marched down White. And nobody wore paper bags despite protesters showing up.
Shame, 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 shame.
They're shouting shame at you.
Oh, we're not. They ought to be the ones that are ashamed.
In 1995, Bill Smith was elected mayor of Edmonton.
Oh, it was not easy. I mean, it was hugely disappointing.
I don't think we need to issue a proclamation to say to everybody, because Edmontonians clearly know that we shouldn't be discriminating against gays and lesbians at any time.
Citing personal beliefs, Smith refused to proclaim Gay and Lesbian Awareness Day. Fair says trying to get a proclamation was hopeless. In 1998, the Supreme Court of Canada ordered the government of Alberta to include sexual orientation in its human rights laws. Despite the change, Mayor Smith continued to refuse proclamations for Pride events.
Is that what we're talking about? I can't talk about that.
He gives out proclamations for everything, and we deserve a proclamation like any other part of the community.
Pride organizers threatened Smith with a human rights complaint.
And a couple years later, he was forced to do it.
I have personal principles, but the law is another matter.
Mr. Smith gave us the proclamation this year, and we thank him for that. That was a very difficult thing for him to do. It was the right thing for him to do, and legally he was obligated.
Tomorrow in part 2, we look at the changing attitudes towards Pride, both positive and negative, leading up to its demise in 2019. To read more about the history of Edmonton's Pride Parade or watch extra content, you can go to our website. All right, Josh, one more cool day and then the heat.
Yeah, cool and windy tomorrow. I think that's going to be the biggest issue, but should be near 30 for daytime highs for a lot of next week. Here's what it looks like outside right now with the Action Furnace River Valley Sky Cam. Action Furnace fixed rider, it's free. 17 degrees now as temperatures have tanked in behind that little shower cell that rolled through. You can see there's a little bit of sun now already starting to break out in behind what's left of the precipitation, which did not blanket the entire city. We'll show you the radar in a second. 24 in Fort McMurray for a high today, 20 in Grand Prairie as well as Red Deer, 22 in Edmonton. Severe thunderstorm watches for the areas in yellow. A warning here between Medicine Hat and Cereal. The worst of the storm right there, producing some sizable hail. There was talk of potentially baseball-sized hail coming off of this thing. I don't think we've seen any reports of hail quite that large. You also have a cluster of thunderstorms there, non-severe right now, but right around Camrose. A couple scattered thunderstorms along Highway 16 and here a little further north. This is all just shower activity and then some thunderstorms back off to the northwest. In the Edmonton area, well, you can see there was that one little shower cell that slipped through the south end, started to kick up the wind on the backside of it now. We've seen temperatures drop to 17. I think they'll jump back to about 19 or 20 here by the time we get the 7 p.m. temperature. There's your scattered showers up off to the east of Grand Prairie. I don't think this stuff here has much potential to hit the Edmonton area because behind this upper level low, you see that spin there? Instead of things coming out of the southwest over the course of the next few hours, once this starts to shift east, it's actually the stuff further to the northwest that may get dragged back towards the Edmonton region overnight tonight. So overnight or early tomorrow morning, there might be a scattered shower, better chance across the north. In fact, this could be some fairly steady rain in and around Fort McMurray through at least the first half of the day. Should start to taper off by late afternoon as it moves south into the Cold Lake region. Watch how this falls apart as it tries to drop through the Edmonton area. So again, I mean, maybe a spotty shower early tomorrow evening, but for the most part, should be dry tomorrow, partly cloudy and just windy on the backside of that upper level low. Wind out of the northwest gusting to about 40 or 50 kilometers per hour. You see the sunshine take over for Thursday. This upper ridge is departing. There's the upper level low that we just showed you, that spin. That's off by tomorrow afternoon into northern Saskatchewan. And look what develops back further to the west. Another stronger upper ridge. And this thing will stick around, it looks like, almost all of next week. So you're going to get sunshine and the heat is going to roll back in. 22 in Fort McMurray, 19 in Grand Prairie. It's 17 right now in Edmonton and 20 to the south of Red Deer. There's your wind, about 35 gusting to 50 in downtown Edmonton. That should start to taper off over the course of the next few hours as that shower cell moves further away. Maybe still gusting to about 20 or 30 at mid-evening. Gusts 40 to 50 kilometers per hour, high of 19 and partly cloudy skies tomorrow, then 23 in Sunshine Friday, mid to upper 20s Saturday, Sunday, and highs near 30 all of next week.
Thanks, Josh. Despite the warm weather, leaves on some trees in Edmonton are already starting to change. CTV's Merrick DeCash spoke to a local expert about why.
Amongst the green, you may have recently noticed touches of yellow and red. Professionals are noticing it too.
There's all sorts of reasons. It's usually due to stress. So sometimes it's moisture stress, sometimes it's too much moisture.
This year, forester David Stevenson says dry conditions are causing the colors to change early.
The active growth season for many trees is May and June. And so you look at moisture stress during those months, and as you may recall, June was quite dry.
CTV News Chief Meteorologist Josh Clausen says the shift in color does not mean fall is coming early.
There's a big upper ridge, so that's going to bring back some sunshine and some heat for the end of this week and all of next week as well. So it was a hot start to August. It'll be a hot end to August as well.
Although many areas have seen plenty of rain this summer, Clausen says there are exceptions.
If you look at Blatchford, July and August has been about half of average precipitation, but surrounding weather stations have all been around or even slightly above average.
Stevenson says to keep trees healthy, the best thing you can do in your yard or neighborhood is water them.
Especially if you've got a newly planted tree, to make sure that it is receiving water right through till the fall, after it's dropped its leaves. It needs that moisture that it then stores in the roots for the winter.
A season that remains 4 months away regardless of what color the trees are. Merrick DeCash, CTV News, Edmonton.
Still to come, deal or no deal?
They won't be able to afford the cost of living and living wage in Toronto and Vancouver.
Industry watchers warn parts of the proposed Air Canada deal will leave some flight attendants deflated. Also next.
You know, it doesn't make sense. The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C.
Donald Trump brings the National Guard to Washington.
Programming brought to you by James H. Brown Injury Lawyers, the heavy hitters of injury law. Help make history this summer with the world's largest egg and spoon race, August 30th in Vegreville. Registration is now open.
Air Canada is ramping up flights, attempting to get back on track as flight attendants mull over a tentative deal. The deal plans to bump up salaries and put an end to unpaid working. Here's CTV's Adrian Gobriel.
With Air Canada slowly getting its fleet off the ground, industry watchers say parts of the proposed deal will leave some flight attendants deflated.
They won't be able to afford the cost of living and living wage in Toronto and Vancouver.
Air Canada and CUPE have yet to confirm the wage increase being offered, but multiple aviation insiders, including McGill University's John Graddick, say they've seen the numbers.
12% increase immediately for the junior flight attendants, 8% for the more senior flight attendants, and then progressively through the contract, 3.5%, 3%, and then 2.5%.
Though the pay grade for cabin crew with less than 5 years of service will still fall short of what some U.S. carriers offer their staff who work out of major hubs.
If you happen to live in L.A., if you happen to live in New York, or happen to live in Chicago, we're giving you an extra $2,000 a month. And that should get you up to a living wage in those cities where you have a high cost of living.
Air Canada flight attendants haven't been receiving an hourly wage while checking in passengers. CTV News has confirmed that the airline is now offering 50% of their hourly rate as ground pay for the first hour of pre-flight work on a narrow-body aircraft and 70 minutes for larger planes. The ground pay rate will increase to 70% by the time the deal expires in 4 years.
The flight attendants at Air Canada felt that this was a negotiating element of their contract that they could get a lot of Canadians to support.
Air Canada's offer of ground pay follows a similar move already made by Delta Airlines in the U.S. It could trigger similar demands by flight attendants at other Canadian carriers. WestJet's contract with its cabin crew expires at the end of the year.
A source tells CTV News that CUPE began presenting Air Canada's offer to their members this morning. Voting is expected to be completed by the end of next week. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Mississauga, Ontario.
Since U.S. President Donald Trump declared a crime emergency in Washington, D.C. 9 days ago, hundreds of armed National Guards have been called in to patrol, even though local officials say crime has actually gone down. CTV National Correspondent Judy Trin reports from Washington.
An angry welcome for 3 of Donald Trump's top officials as they walked into Union Station to greet the National Guard. The concerns of protesters were dismissed.
We do not have to allow our cities to be taken over by violence and by disorder and by chaos. The voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots, they have no connections to the city.
But the organizers of this protest are from the city.
We're under a military occupation of our city. This is fascism, this is racism. It's directly targeting Black and brown and working class communities in D.C.
Last week, Trump, citing a crime emergency in Washington, D.C., took over the local police force and called in the National Guard. Since then, the White House says nearly 500 people have been arrested and more than 20 homeless encampments have been dismantled. Hundreds of National Guard members have been stationed near subway stations and national monuments.
Sometimes our mere presence has a deterrent effect on criminal activity, and that's really what we're trying to provide.
The Guards have also been patrolling the poor, predominantly Black and immigrant neighborhoods of D.C. Washington's mayor says that crime is on the decline in the capital, and there's no need for the military to be involved.
You know it doesn't make sense. The numbers on the ground in the district don't support 1,000 people from other states coming to Washington, D.C.
By law, Trump can only use the National Guard for 30 days without congressional approval. But the president has already said he wants an extension to his emergency order. Judy Trin, CTV News, Washington, D.C.
Israel says it has taken the first steps of a planned operation to take over Gaza City. It says its forces are now in control of the outskirts, which the military describes as a Hamas stronghold. 60,000 reservists have been called in preparation for the assault. The decision to seize Gaza City has received international criticism, with opponents saying it will likely force the displacement of many more Palestinians. There's also opposition to a settlement plan in the occupied West Bank that was given final Israeli approval today. Critics say it will effectively cut the territory in two and prevent a direct route between the cities of Ramallah and Bethlehem. Rights groups say it could end the possibility of a Palestinian state in the future. Russia has not stopped its aerial attacks or publicly agreed to a high-level meeting with Ukraine's president following Volodymyr Zelensky's meeting with U.S. President Donald Trump and other European leaders. The country's longtime foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, says talks without their participation are, quote, a road to nowhere. Lavrov says Moscow is ready to discuss the political aspects of a deal with Ukraine. He added that any meetings between Vladimir Putin and Zelensky have to be a result of negotiations and careful preparation. Still ahead, humanoid robots.
They're going to handle the backbreaking labor that humans should really not be doing.
A Canadian company is working to make its mark in the quickly growing robotics industry, and
that it's fundamental for our government to make sure that First Nations, Indigenous peoples have an equity share in those projects.
A local initiative gets a federal boost.
Programming brought to you by Southview Acura. For family-owned, award-winning excellence, Southview Acura, where luxury meets reality.
Looking at the the markets, the Canadian dollar traded for 72 cents to the American dollar. Oil gained 94 cents, closing at $62.71 U.S. a barrel. Gold was up nearly $30 on the day. The TSX and Dow Jones both finished higher, up 54 points and 16 points, respectively. Ottawa is spending millions of dollars on Indigenous and rural Alberta business developments. Nearly $6 million will go towards 7 projects, including an initiative to build Indigenous-led community atlases at NAIT.
What I can say about the projects of national interest is that it's fundamental for our government to make sure that First Nations, Indigenous peoples have an equity share in those projects, and that the projects that are going ahead have the consent of, full, free, informed consent of Indigenous peoples.
$200,000 will go towards an Indigenous resource centre in Edmonton, and a travel centre and convenience store in Maskwacis will get $2 million. The projects are expected to create 370 jobs. Canada is defending its steel tariffs against China after Beijing filed a complaint with the World Trade Organization. Beijing is challenging Canada's 25% surtax on imports that contain steel melted or poured in China. Canada imposed the tariff last month to protect the domestic industry amid the trade war with the United States and allegations of steel dumping. A spokesperson for International Trade Minister Maninder Sidhu says Chinese overcapacity is undermining Canada's steel sector and threatening Canadian jobs. Canada Post and the union representing thousands of postal workers is heading back to the bargaining table today. Discussions were delayed last week over a lack of available federal government mediators. The union says mediators were too busy with Air Canada negotiations. The latest proposal includes an increase of 19% over 4 years. Talks at Canada Post have been ongoing for more than a year and a half. A Canadian company is hustling to be part of what will soon be a $15 billion industry. Robots designed to look and move like people are being used to address critical challenges in hazardous industries. CTV Spencer Turcott reports.
A quick stretch of the fingers.
The range of motion is incredible.
And these robots are ready to work.
A humanoid robot is a robot that matches the human form.
At Mercy Robotics in Cambridge, Tarek Rahim and his team have developed human-like robots that can do human tasks.
Everything is Mercy designed, and we're really proud of it.
Mercy says their robots are already addressing critical Canadian challenges like gathering data for remote First Nations water plants, providing support in aging care facilities, and filling essential roles in precarious industries.
These robots are going to tackle the repetitive, monotonous jobs. And most importantly, they're going to handle the backbreaking labor that humans should really not be doing.
Rahim says people shouldn't worry about the humanoids taking human jobs. They may replace some roles, but he says with any emerging technology, new job opportunities arise. That's backed by global humanoid robot market projections, which show it growing from $2.92 billion this year to $15.26 billion by 2030.
And those are the most conservative estimates, so I wouldn't fear too much about a dystopian future with no employment opportunities.
The robot moves around on wheels with the help of a joystick.
The reason we do wheel designs is because they're inherently stable. You cannot knock this guy over.
In the manufacturing sector, Canada ranked 12th in robot installations behind countries like the U.S. and Mexico. Yet Mercy says they have the tech to catapult Canada to the top of the world rankings, in an industry they believe will have the same impact as the automotive revolution. But above the impressive technology, they have the passion to match it.
In a way, it's the most rewarding feeling ever. So I imagine that's what having children feels like.
Spencer Turcott, CTV News, Cambridge.
Still ahead, a stinky search.
It's not the money, it's the sentimental value.
It's the money.
Looking for a wedding ring in a landfill.
We've got another great night of entertainment coming up right here on CTV.
A Mission man's treasure was literally in the trash. Well, at least his wife's wedding and anniversary rings were, and the only way to get them back was sifting through tons and tons of garbage at the dump. CTV's St. Alexander reports.
18 tons of rotting, steaming, stinking compost, and somewhere in this mound might be his wife's wedding rings.
She never takes them off.
But while washing her hands at a restaurant, Janine Van Ijsseldijk realized they had somehow slipped off.
Left the restaurant. I'm like, I can't even wait for the check.
After a frantic search, the couple figured the rings must have slipped off into the compost. But by now, the garbage had already been collected.
I said I'd go to the dump in the morning and ask them if I could go through the compost pile.
He said, let me try. I said, okay.
In other words, just about everyone, including Denny Webster at the Mission Sanitary Landfill, thought this was a lost cause.
My brain was trying to figure out a way to tell him to go buy his wife new wedding rings.
However, admiring the dedication,
I was grabbing it from there.
Webster dug out smaller piles for Steve Van Ijsseldijk's smelly treasure hunt.
When he has something on his mind, he makes sure he does it.
Bit by bit, he began to recognize his own waste. A popcorn bag, he yelled out.
Oh, there's my sausages.
And if you can believe it, he suddenly had one ring. And within an hour, he had them both.
And it was all slimy with popcorn and butter.
So he called his wife and told her the news.
She basically broke down crying, cried all the way home, she said.
Well, yes, because I know how much he loves me, that he's willing to go through a rotten, stinky compost pile.
I don't think he really believed that he had found it, even though he had them both in his hands.
The chances of a happy ending were unlikely.
It's not the money, it's the sentimental value.
It's the money.
But Van Ijsseldijk refused to believe the impossible.
I think he would have dove in here if I wasn't here.
St. Alexander, CTV News, Mission.
That is a proud man. Just
you know how much money I saved digging through that?
Would a metal detector have helped, do you think? Would it have? I don't know.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, probably. Anyway, it was good on him. I don't know that I would have gone to that trouble. There's your showers and thunderstorms around Camrose. A couple thunderstorms as well in northeastern Alberta and off to the northwest. Whitecourt. Looks like Whitecourt might hear some rumbles of thunder in the next little bit. Nothing imminent for Edmonton, but overnight tonight, you might see one more little scattered shower go through. Tomorrow should be fairly dry, but cooler and windy. 19 or 20 for a daytime high under partly cloudy skies, and wind gusting to around 40, maybe at times 50 kilometers per hour. The wind dies down for Friday. Sunshine comes out, and sunny skies will stick around through the weekend and at least the first half of next week with some heat roaring back in.
Sounds fantastic. Thanks, Josh, and thank you very much for sharing your time with us. For news anytime, ctvnewsedmonton.ca.